Welcome to the Biz Gone Social Podcast. We help entrepreneurs navigate how to get known, get customers, and get the edge over their competition. Here is your host, Lorraine Duncan.
So here we are with episode number 50, and I'm glad to be here. And my promise to you, as always, is I want to give you a little bit of verbal caffeine that's going to energize your business, your social media marketing, and is going to help you stay social. Because after all, don't you want to be the business that everyone's talking about? I know I do. And today I'm so stoked to have Seth with me. And he is known as Sherpa Seth, I should say. And welcome, Seth.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lorraine. It's good to be here virtually. How you doing?
Good. And I hope you're doing good too. And I'm really excited about this interview because I've known you for about a year and a half now. We were in a mastermind together. And I just love everything that you always have to say. And why don't, before we get started, you just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, give us a little bit of a background on yourself.
Thank you. Well, hello, everyone. I just want to say that I am a happy engineer today. Lorraine, do you want to know why I'm a happy engineer?
Yes.
This is more of an interactive thing for me because I love podcasting. And I'm a happy engineer today because I've discovered a new formula.
Ooh, so tell me about this formula. But before you tell me about this formula, tell a little bit more about yourself. Like, why should anybody listen to you and who you are?
Oh, no one should listen to me. Just turn everything off. No one should listen until my next webinar is September 15th, exactly 2 weeks. You should listen then. But you should listen to me because I'm an engineer who's discovered a formula, kind of like Howard Carter, when discovered King Tut's tomb 99 years ago. I'm so excited because I'm an engineer, as I say. I work for the Army Corps of Engineers, but I'm also an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur. I've written 3 best-selling books. I have a couple of online courses, and I'm a communication coach for techies and creative folks like yourself and the people in your audience. I've been doing this for more than 10 years now, the entrepreneur aspect of my personality. And a lot of people call myself Sherpa Seth, because I am a friendly guide that helps you up to the peak of communication excellence. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's awesome. And I know, like, I'm kind of anxious. You had mentioned that you are going to be doing a webinar for SCORE in like 2 weeks, September 15th. And your topic is creating meaningful connections. And I think that this is something that's so important, especially for those of you out there who do online marketing, because it's not just collecting people that you're doing. You are creating you're beginning to create a relationship. And so you're going to be speaking on that. I'm really excited to know about that. And I hope, I'd like to hear a little bit more about what your take is on creating a meaningful connection.
Oh, sure. Well, like you say, it's not just about collecting people. It's about connecting with people. So not collecting, but connecting. And of course, you're scratching your head and saying, why is an engineer telling me how to connect with people? Engineers don't even know how to act human. In fact, you want to hear my engineer joke, Lorraine? My one engineer joke? So what's the difference between an introverted engineer and an extroverted engineer?
I don't know. What?
So an introverted engineer, when he speaks to you, he looks at his shoes, but an extroverted engineer, when he speaks to you, looks at your shoes. So you see what I'm talking about is what can an engineer tell you about connecting with people? And I can tell you that I'm the right engineer to listen to, because as I told you, I've created a formula, right? Only an engineer would need a formula to understand how to connect with people. But this is what I do. I look at the world in a way that is quite unique. And it's helped me. It's helped me focus on the right path to choose. So it's kind of to bake a cake, but you didn't have a recipe. Would that be something that you can do without a step-by-step recipe? You can throw everything in a bowl, but it wouldn't really be something that would be tasty because you're not sure of what the ingredients are. So that's how I see it in terms of making connections with your customer. There are so many different ways to do it. For example, when you go into a networking event and you have that 30 seconds to attract talk to the person you're looking at, it's called an elevator pitch. If you don't have your elevator pitch down, you're going to look at the person and you're going to see the so what face. You're going to see something that looks like kind of like, I know this might be only audio, but it's going to be like, right? My formula helps you take that to You see that? Did you see the difference?
Yeah.
I wish your audience can see this, but it's a very small difference. It's only one more M, I call it the raised eyebrow test.
Seth, you bring up a really interesting point, is that we all know the beloved 30-second commercial. And, some of us have studied it and worked on it and perfected it. And I realized something a long time ago when I first got into business for myself. I realized that it's not about the 30-second commercial at all. It's about making a meaningful connection, as you say, by actually getting to know the person first and listening to them before you pitch them. And the bottom line is I've learned over the years that, to be honest with you, I don't actually think anybody listens to my 30-second commercial, because a couple times I've actually not said anything about my business in my 30-second commercial. I actually asked the question and everybody was just staring into space. Mm-hmm. So people have started to tune out those 30-second commercials. I don't know if you've noticed that over the years, but I think, I'd like to hear more about your formula, of course, but I wanted to drop that in because I think my little slogan right now is networking happens before networking, meaning that it's in the room, beforehand and afterhand, that when you're talking to people. Of course, things changed a lot, since a lot of us are networking a lot online now. So you don't have that in the room time before you sit down and start, everybody going around the room and saying 30 seconds about what they do and who they serve. So, what's your take on that? Have you noticed the same thing? And yeah, please, let's start. Tell me a little bit more about this formula too.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. The people have less and less attention spans, right? Because they want the information immediately. In fact, did you know, Lorraine, I'm sorry, I just had another podcast, that we have less of an attention span than a goldfish. Yes, it's been proven that a goldfish has an attention span of 8 seconds, and we have an attention span of 7. It's crazy, right? That humans are so unfocused. So maybe it's not the goldfish's problem. Maybe it's our problem. Maybe we're just boring. So we need to come in with what I call a catchy opening line on our elevator pitch. But the focus of my talk is not to go over the elevator pitch. It's like exactly what you said. The focus of my talk is to use improvisational skills to listen, right? Everyone likes to talk about themselves, but they don't know how to listen. Everyone's waiting to talk about themselves, but they don't know how to listen. So the whole point is, and this changed my life, just understanding that improvisation, the stuff you see in the comedy halls, it doesn't necessarily have to be funny, but it has to be fun. And you can use improv for business, and it can help you listen to your customer. And as soon as you start to listen, the connection is made if you can accept. Here, this is a little bit about the philosophy of improv. everything's based on yes and, right? The first two words are yes and. So yes is listening. You have to listen to who you're speaking to, and you have to build on what they're saying. So it's not a back and forth. It's more of a collaboration, right? More of a collaboration. You're not debating. You're not trying to win the argument. It's more of a synthesis between you and the person you're speaking to, and that's what has changed my life tremendously.
I think it's funny you mentioned that whole goldfish study. It always intrigues me. I always want to know, well, what did they do? Did they survey 100 goldfish? And then if they tapped on the bowl and they stayed there for a little bit, that showed their attention span. And if not, because I'm sure they didn't put little wires up to them to see if, I just, I always have that picture. But no, I mean, I love that. I don't know. I always think about, goldfish. I hope I'm a little bit better than a goldfish. That's all I have to say. Let me ask you this, so you've been doing this for a while and you've thought about this whole thing about the interaction and how we connect with one another. What has been like your biggest, because I think this is important, as entrepreneurs, and a lot of entrepreneurs are listening to this right now, we need to know how to communicate with one another, and we need to know how to connect with one another, because if we don't make that connection, we will never make a sale. And I don't really actually even think that I ever really have to pitch my business, because most people see me online, they hear me, and they know what I can do. And so I literally don't have to say, hi, this is Lorraine Duncan from Biz Gone Social, blah, blah, blah. So, what have you noticed in your communication and connection sphere that is like the one single thing that has you connecting better now? Because you said you discovered something. You said you're happy. So I want to know what that is.
I understand. And a lot of people ask me that, like, Sherpa, can you tell me that one thing? Can you reveal that formula now so I can use it today? And I really feel bad. I really feel bad when I say, no, I cannot do that. No, I cannot unveil it until September 15th.
Can you give us a little hint?
I can give you a lot of hint. We already talked about improv, right? But the other part of the way we have to connect is staying in the present moment. There's nothing that reality is not in the past, right? Reality is not in the future. Reality is here. If we can actually focus on the here and now, then we've got it made, because that's the only thing that is real, right? The only thing, the only place that your customer is, and your relationship is, and your conversation is here, is now. So I guess what I'm talking about is mindfulness. What I'm talking about is meditation. What I'm talking about is a way to stay on the cutting edge of time. And I know that sounds, big engineer philosopher, but that just means staying focused in the now so they can really hear what your customer is saying to you now. So that's something we go into on September 15th as part of the creating meaningful customer connections.
Yeah. And I think that's so important, because really, if you think about it, and to sort of almost bring it to a more serious level here, is that if you're in the now is really all that you're really promised. What happens 2 minutes from now? I could step out of this podcast right now, and I could be struck by lightning. So we're only actually really promised now anyway. So it's like, I think a lot of people, they're trying to think ahead while somebody's talking. They're trying to think about what they're going to say next. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't flow. Have you ever been in a conversation where you just were talking about something really serious, and then they come back with something that didn't even flow with the conversation, and that they didn't hear a word you said?
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's exactly what we're going to go over on September 15th, because that is the key, Lorraine, just to hear what the person is telling you and to build on it. I call it's something I call it's as easy as ABCC. You want to know what the acronym? I'm a big acronym guy, big formula guy. I'm an engineer. So ABCC means accept and build to connect with your customer. So ABCC, accept what they give you, accept the validity of what they give you, whatever it is they give you, just listen to it, accept it, build on it, right? Collaborate with your customer as if you were a unit, as if you and your customer were actually synchronizing or syncopatical. And then that is what creates the connection, the real time, here and now connection. Because, I know marketers like to say people like to do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? People know, like, and trust. And it's true. It is so true. How are people going to get to like you if you don't listen to them? How are people going to get to like you if you're saying things that doesn't have anything to do with what they're saying? I mean, you have to be in the here and now for people to like you. And ultimately, like is the basis for a trusting relationship. So my whole point is that you have to, with your 7 seconds of time, you have to be able to find a way to connect with them in order to establish a basis for a trusting relationship with your customer.
Yeah. And I think about in the many ways that you connect with people, Seth, you've written books, you've joined masterminds. At one point, not in this conversation, but I think when you had mentioned improv, and I think that you do some improv sometimes too. Is that correct?
Yeah. I've done a little bit of formal improv, but what I really am a master at is doing impromptu speaking at Toastmasters, right? Toastmasters, the public speaking organization. We have something called impromptu speaking, where you are given something, any topic, you're given a question, and you have to speak on it right there. No preparation, right? Just being able to be spontaneous and speak on it for 1 to 2 minutes or 2 to 3 minutes, however long you can speak on it. And it's kind of like a mini speech, but you have no time to prepare. So that's changed my life, just being able to do what we call table topics in Toastmasters. And then I've just taken it one step further.
I love table topics. And it's interesting. We are both we've been at Beth Stoller's. If you don't know her, she helps speakers, and you know her. But what I was going to say is that every once in a while she'll bring in for a fun thing to do is table topics. And, I'm usually good at it when I'm not put on the spot, meaning give me a topic, I can talk about it. Then when it happens, I feel like I always, like one time she did the spin the wheel thing, and whatever it landed on, that's what we had to speak on. And I got like car or something, and I'm like thinking, oh, great, and it's like I talked about it, but when I thought back to it, I said I could have made it about the story. And all that to say with your topic of meaningful connections, bringing it back right to that, is that a story, when somebody tells a story or talks about a story, it connects with people. The story connects with people. And that's another way that we can actually build on meaningful connections. And have you noticed that in your life, that like when somebody's telling a story and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, the same thing happened to me. I just feel like that's so much of a part of having some really great connections with people. And you end up telling that story. Did you ever like go home and, hey, I heard this guy speak today and he said this, and I thought that was really interesting. But speaking of speaking, you do a lot of speaking and you're good at it. And you do a lot of teaching. You have courses that you've taught. And again, like I was, we're going to put all the links below later, is that what we're going to do, you're going to be doing a really great webinar at SCORE. So you're out there in a big way. Yeah. Do you do that intentionally, or is that something that, like today, like for instance, speak about improv. We didn't prepare for this at all, did we?
No, not at all. We're just having fun here, Lorraine. This is fun. Yeah, intentionally. Yeah, absolutely. I want to get my message out. I want to help as many people as I can. If you're an engineer, I want to help you not look at your shoes. If you're an entrepreneur, I want to help you make connections with your customers. If you're if you're anyone, I just want to help you. I want to help you become more spontaneous and become more connected to your life. Because, like I say, it's changed my life, in a way that's incomprehensible, the way I used to be. And now it's incredible. It's really come from, when I say this, it's true. My life has changed from discovering a formula. Just a year and a half ago, I wrote a book called The Engineer's Formula for Public Speaking Excellence. I wasn't working on that formula. The formula came to me at 3:30 in the morning one night, and I wrote it down. I'm like, oh, that's nice. But it's completely changed my life, because the greatest inventions in the world have come from formulas. E equals MC squared. It's changed the way we see energy, the way we produce energy. F equals MA. It's changed the way we transport. Formulas change the way we see the world. So why can't formulas change the way you see the world and the way you see your life? And I'm telling you, it's powerful. It's powerful.
Yeah. And I'm one of these people, though, that if I have like 3 points to this, formula for this is like, I'm one of these people that when I get a hold of like 3 points to be more productive, 3 points to do this, I like want to follow every single one of those rules. But what I was going to say is that 3:30, by the way, you should have been sleeping. Just saying. But it's funny because that's when, and I like what you said. I just want to point this out to everybody on the line. Seth said he wrote it down. So there's a lot of times we'll be taking a shower, we'll be driving in the car, and an idea will come to us. And what I want to just encourage you to do is as soon as you stop, make sure you write that idea down. It's like the same thing. I produce sometimes music. I write music, and it's not very good, but I have fun with it. It's just a hobby. And one time I wrote this song and I played it, and a music guy that I know that is very good at music said to me, you should, whenever you play a song and write it or whatever, and even if you're just playing, make sure you record it. And I was very thankful that day I actually recorded the song, and it's a very meaningful song to me, and I have it, and literally I've performed it. And so those type of things are so important. Write it down, record it. Other thing I wanted to ask you is because for you came from the engineer background, and it seems to me, as I've known you for the last year and a half, you're always growing. And you're doing things to grow, because you're not doing things. I mean, you don't want to be stagnant, and I don't see that in you. What are some things that you do to grow and so you can be on top of what you're going to be talking about, or be on top of your field and what you're trying to do as being Sherpa Seth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're so right. It's all about something. A Japanese term called kaizen, which means continuous improvement in Japanese. And I found that many years ago, if you are always striving to be better and better and better, you're always going to get better and better and better. It's the difference between trying a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. The fixed mindset says, oh, I was born with everything and I don't have to grow. And the growth mindset is that I can grow continuously throughout my life just by taking one step at a time, right? Just keep on moving down the path. And I think that encapsulates my philosophy. Who was it? Lao Tzu, the philosopher, said, a journey of 10,000 miles starts with one step, right? So it doesn't matter where you are on your journey. Just take the next step and never stop stepping, because that's what life is about. If you're not living, you're dying. So what is the point of life if you're not continuously improving?
That's so true. It's like I thrive on learning new things. I mean, I'm in the field that's constantly changing. Social media is constantly changing. It's how you adapt, but you have to always be learning, because there could be something that comes up that you may not know the answer to. Well, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to Google it, right? We all Google it. But the bottom line is I love the fact that you're constantly growing. And one of the true privileges I had was that a couple of months ago, I launched a course called 13 Minutes a Day on LinkedIn, and you were one of my students. And so I just want to, it's kind of my pitch a little bit, but I want to have fun with this a little bit, is I would love to know what you thought of the course and tell me a little, why should somebody buy the course if they were going to take it, and kind of what you learned and everything like that. If you wouldn't mind saying a few things about it.
Oh, of course, Lorraine. No, it was a tremendous course, your 13 minutes, because it's daunting to think about all the hours and days and weeks that you have to put in to improve, but you broke it down into 13 days, 13 minutes each day. You just have to take, and that's very doable, right? It's a step-by-step process, and 13 minutes, I can do that. That's not a problem at all. And the thing about 13 minutes is that for me, I live in the now, so I took your course because I needed to push myself to become a better LinkedIn social media business owner. I wasn't using it, and I said, well, Lorraine's teaching it, so when she teaches it, I'm going to be focused, and I'm going to do my 13 minutes a day. And I still have to thank you so much, because your course was the impetus for me to simply change out my photo, my banner on my LinkedIn to show me in action, to show me speaking as Sherpa Seth. And I've gotten so many inquiries just because I've changed, boring blue background to a visual background of what I do. People don't even have to read my LinkedIn entry anymore because they know what I do. And so thank you very much for that tidbit on tip on changing your banner to a visual. There's so much else that you taught us, and I appreciate how you broke it down into meaningful chunks, bite-sized chunks. And you've inspired me to do another online course, just like the way you did yours, just in small bursts of insightful and entertaining videos. So appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you enjoyed the course, and I hope it continues to make you successful in what you do. So with that being said, I want to thank you, Seth, for being a part of my podcast. I think that if you want to learn more about this whole creating meaningful relationships, on September 15th, go to Seth's webinar, and we are going to put the link below this podcast. I'm really excited. So with that being said, thank you again for being on the podcast. Want to know anything more about Seth too, you can always contact me at Lorraine@bizgonesocial.com, and I can give you his information and get you connected with him. Also, make sure you click the link and attend his webinar. And if you need to get in touch with me for any kind of social media or any other connection, again, it's Lorraine@bizgonesocial.com. And until next week, I'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Biz Gone Social podcast. Find us on Instagram @BizGoneSocial for extra tips. Check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, stay social.